Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe and like. And please visit us at barrykibrick.com, where you'll see all the ways that you can become a patron of our mission and help us continue to build a community of seekers who quest for knowledge, information, and most importantly, wisdom. Peter, as I told my viewers in the regular episode of our show, there's so much that we can really bring out now and let them know really how they can shape their career and make it a business for themselves, as well as keep their passion of what they're doing going. And I wanted to begin it like that with you.
Sure. I guess what I would love to just put out there, which is kind of just like a big macro concept, but if you're inspired about doing something, whether that's honestly any type of vertical, there's already a lot of people out there doing something similar to it. And so the first thing you should do, no matter what, is find 4 or 5 individuals who are succeeding at creating something similar to that, and honestly just digest as much content as humanly possible from all of those 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 creators. See how they've gotten there, because their entire digital resume is there. How they make their living is there. How they correspond with their community is there. The content's there. How they create it. I mean, everything is. Like, that's the beauty of this online world right now, is that it's been done pretty much. It's going to be unique by you adding your own spin on it. But it's so important for them to do their research and development and see what other people are doing and how they're succeeding. And initially, in my opinion, even though this is super frowned upon, I believe it's so important for them to mimic first. Whether it's like taking a hybrid of 2 different things, or like literally trying to copy something else that they loved and put themselves into it, whether it's their talent or their face or their voice. And then in doing so, they're going to learn so much by then being able to then look back on it, whether it's singing a song or doing a podcast or doing a vlog or whatever. I really do believe that like copying, mimicking, combining is so quintessential to success right now.
By the way, there's an old expression that says borrowing is helping you get a good career, but literally stealing and copying, that's going to get you a great career.
I mean, that's how Steve Jobs made the iPhone, man. He just took the best elements of 3 different things and he just put it together. So yeah, I mean, I really try to hit home on that right away on creators asking me questions about how do I do this, how do I do that, and it really helps give them training wheels to just starting, because there's the entire like, you're going to fail if you don't start, and honestly, most people who have the desire to do something get paralyzed because of the fear of not starting. And I think in copying, it allows them to basically create fan work of the people that they look up to most. And then they can go back and look about what they liked of those first, whatever, dozen things and learn from it and create their own content.
And it also stops you from having to stare at that blank page if you're a writer, or that blank, it allows you to already have a springboard to move into something. And like you say, you're not going to, and by the way, this is even if you're creating something that no one else has created, still copy from other people that are close to it and springboard off it, and it really takes that pressure off of you from having to reinvent the wheel that doesn't need to be reinvented.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, when I get copied, like now at this point, I'm like, well, I'm doing great. Like obviously I'm doing something right. I think it's the biggest flattery. So I think it's a win-win.
Let's talk about the services you mentioned in the show, and you used Patreon as an example, and I'm also getting viewers now to support on Patreon. Give some advice on that. Please. I'd love to hear as much as you can share.
Yeah, so honestly, Patreon personally saved me from my record deal. It gave me the freedom to just be like, I'm not following the industry, I'm gonna do my own thing. I think it is literally the groundwork for any creator trying to create. If you have a following, you should be on Patreon. It gives you consistent revenue, which is never existent ever for creators. It doesn't matter what you're creating. In my opinion, you should have a membership site, and Patreon is the membership site. So for you, for example, I would love to dig into your business model, because you have this amazing brand that you've created. You're an incredible speaker. You make dorky people like me who feel uncomfortable on talk shows feel great about talking. This is great. So when I first met you, I was like, you got to start a podcast. So I'm glad that you started a podcast. I love people that actually take action. So it proves to me that you're going to succeed.
Fact, that was the first thing when we got home. I said, now, it took us a little longer to start. I must tell you that. It took a little longer to start. But that was the first thing we did. I said, Peter says, get that podcast going. We're getting that podcast going.
Yeah, absolutely. And now coming to your facilities, I think it's so important not only to like have the podcast possibly be some of the core content, but then have like the after hours session where you really dig into like the nit and gritty and the stuff that you were able to like almost like breathe out of this experience. I think that'd be really cool to go from here and then just walk over to another room that's already set up and continue the conversation that then you can put together in editing. I think that could be great. And it also provides a tremendous amount of value for viewers who are like, oh, I loved that guest. I love what Barry and them were talking about. Now I'm going to go to the podcast and I'm going to learn about it. The thing I think is the most difficult for you, and something that we already touched on, is the fact that you've created this brand and it's so analog based, right? We can't get somebody that's sitting on their couch in the middle of Iowa to just click the television or click the button and all of a sudden now they're following you. The biggest thing that you have to do is get them out of the analog world and into the digital world. Now, I think the beautiful thing about what the podcast will do, it'll automatically allow that to happen. In addition to you being able to provide certain aspects of maybe the podcast only behind Patreon for patrons, there could be things in your workflow that are not only crowdsourced from your patrons only, or being brought to your attention and then voted on behind that membership site. But I mean, like, think about the things that you could be editing out and making it, digestible for a 45, 50 minute podcast, but that maybe the stuff that you edit out because you're like, oh, but you could leave it just for your patrons. That could be really great.
I love the way you think. This is what attracted me when we first met. You're always thinking. Now, I know that sometimes that's a burden. Am I correct? Yeah. You can't. How do you even shut it off sometimes, or do you even bother to try? But before you do, keep telling me more about me.
Yeah. Let's see here. So when I spoke to you when we first met, I said the podcast, Patreon. What else did I bring up initially?
I remember those two things the most. I really do. And also, you know what else? But like you said, the transition from the analog viewer to the digital one. That's the real tough one.
So I think one of the things that could come so beautifully for you as not only as something that seems like it may be required for your current setup, but for me, the thing that was the most honest and most genuine and most authentic and that gave the most value to my patrons whilst attracting them as like a fan acquisition was thanking them. And now I'm really interested in the verbiage that is asked and required of you for someone that is supporting the show or thanking your patrons, because in my perspective, the best way to do it would be being able to say, the beginning of the end of your main show, enormous thanks to my patrons on Patreon for making this possible or allowing this to be possible or allowing something along the line. So you're literally just thanking them. You're also telling, probably following the FCC guidelines. But in doing so, you're providing extra value to them on the front and the back side. And then we could get into, so I would say from Patreon, because every single time somebody hears something, because if you say patron of the arts, patron, that is something that is like just kind of part of normal verbiage. But I think if you're allowed to say like what website it's from or what company it's from, I think not only would that be being more transparent, which would, I think, be following the rules, but at the same time, it would also give people more of an indication of where to go and what it's about and how they can find you at this place.
Well, to tie this all up, because these are little short minutes, Peter, for our viewers out there and our podcast listeners out there, tell me what you think they should do first, and I want to leave them on that note.
Yeah, okay. Okay, in regards to building a career that's sustainable?
Yes.
Right. Well, other than utilizing the template of following people that have already been there and done that, I think it is so important to communicate with your audience as early and as often as possible. Create the start from the perspective of being a business first and a creator second initially, because that will give you the best chance to succeed. And to put your hand in every cookie jar possible. Don't feel ashamed. Don't think that being on a site like Patreon is you asking for money. It's not a Kickstarter. It's not an Indiegogo. You're not asking for help. You're not asking for support. You're basically allowing people who love what you do, that value what you do, to join you on your journey. And I think the way you utilize verbiage is so vital, because you don't want to be needy. You shouldn't be needy. It doesn't feel good to be needy. They don't want to feel like you're asking them for money. You want to be saying, hey, check out this amazing thing I'm doing over here. It's really fun. I would love for you to be a part of it. And it should never come across like, I need this for my rent. I need this to put food on my table. While it may be in the beginning, you should do anything and everything in your power to make it all about creating with other people, because people wake up every single day and they're not happy about where they're going to work, what they're doing. They have to do it, but they go online for relief. They go online to find something, to connect with something. And if they're able to be part of that, and you're giving them a vehicle to do that for $1 or even a month, that's a really, really powerful tool.
Peter, you're a really, really powerful gentleman.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah.
My pleasure.